So again, principles to principle, can the relationship be stored, and is the solution simplest? If you have watched one-to-many relationship video, we know that we only need foreign key, right? We don't need other column, but only foreign keys is enough. So let's start our implementation. We start with our first option. We put the foreign key of the modules in here. So we have module ID in here. Can we solve the problem? So we know that MR study introduction to programming. So we have M01 in here. MR also study SQL programming. Where is it? We have problem here. Can we put in here? M02? So no, because it's a foreign key. Foreign key, we cannot get this comma. It's a foreign key, right? So this one cannot. Can we put another row with MR in here? 01, MR, etc. And then M01 in here. Can we? We cannot, because this is ID. And ID has to be unique. Here we have S01 already. We cannot put S01 in here anymore. So this one cannot. The first option is wrong. The first option is put in this module IDs inside the table student is wrong. So this one not a solution. So now let's say that, hey, if I don't put it in the table student, how about put the foreign key in the table module? Okay, so in this module I have another ID called student ID in here. Okay, good. So now let's go. MR study introduction to programming. Very good. So we have S01 in here. And she also study SQL programming. Very good. So S01 in here too. Oliver study introduction to business. Very good. So S02. Now Isabel study introduction to programming. Also, now we have problem with Isabel. Can we put Isabel ID in here? Same as previous one. We cannot, because this one is a foreign key. We can either putting M01 in here with the S03 in here, because this one is the ID. And this has to be unique. This one M01 is not unique. It means that our second option, by putting the student ID into the table module, also wrong. So second solution also not acceptable. So how can we solve this problem? Right. You know that we try to get the simplest solution by not creating other table. But in this situation, we'll have to create another table. Right? So let's say that we have another table called maybe student. Maybe we create another table called student and module, or learning, or anything, right? And this table at least is need to get two columns. The first one is the foreign key from the student table. So this is student ID. And the second one is the foreign key from the module table. So this is module ID. Okay? So we start with MR. So this is MR. She studied introduction to programming. So M01 in here. MR also studied SQL programming. So the same thing. 02 in here. Oliver studied introduction to economics. So S02 is Oliver, and this one is M03. Isabel study M01. So this is Isabel. And maybe, for example, she also studied introduction to economics. So Isabel S03, and here M01. 3. We can store the relationship. So let's say that from given student ID, can we retrieve the module or not? So for example, given S01 in here, give student ID. From student ID S01, so this S01, I can retrieve the respective module ID. So this is this and this. So from M01 and M02, so from M01 and M02, I can retrieve all the attributes of the module. You see? Alright, so that's good. So given a student ID, I can retrieve the respective modules. So now, given a module, can I retrieve the respective student? Can I? So let's say that given me this SQL programming, M02. From M02, I look at this one. I look at this one, and now I retrieve the student ID, S01. S01. I know that MR is the one that study SQL programming. Another one, let's see that given M03, Introduction to Economics. Again, I have this column, M03 in here and M03 in here. I can retrieve S02 and S03. Two students study Introduction to Economics. S02 is Oliver and S03 is Isabel. So I can retrieve all the students study Introduction to Economics. So it means that not only I can store the data, but I can retrieve the data too. And this is the simplest solution. Okay, so this is the option 3. This option 3. So in the many-to-many relationship, we need to create another table. For example, student and module. And in this table, at least we have two foreign key. One foreign key for the one table and another foreign key for another table. And this is the list that we need to do. In the future, for example, if we want to store the mark of the student, how much the student score in this module, we can also create other columns in here. For example, mark or score, or maybe about day and etc. We can store all kind of metadata of the student studying this module in here. So for example, mark in here, right, 70, this one 80, this one 90, this one 50, and etc. Okay, so this is how we implement the many-to-many relationship. So in this video, I show you how to implement many-to-many relationship, right? In order to test your understanding, we'll have a quiz in here. A lecturer can teach many modules, and the modules can be taught by many lecturers. What are the possible structure of this relationship? We have A, this one, B, this one, C, this one, or D, this one. Again, there may be one or there may be more answer for this one. So thank you for watching the video.